Welcome to Beside Ourselves, a podcast on AI adoption for business by the Beside Partners.
So welcome to another episode of Beside Ourselves. My name is Theo, and as always, my partner in crime, Giles. Hey, Giles. Good to see
Theo.
you.
No, I'm not too bad. How are you?
Very well. Very well. We have got a special guest today. Our first guest on the podcast. Really exciting. So in a few minutes, we will be talking with Aris Vrakas, who is the CEO of Rankbee and everything. Then we're going to be talking about how AI is impacting how we find stuff on the internet. I mean, we both kind of are in two minds about Google AI search, right? How do you find it? Are you?
I mean,
just love, just hate.
It's okay. I mean, no, I would say it's probably an element of AI that everybody's using, but not many people are aware of it. You know, because it just seamlessly sits in at the top of your AI search, and I mean, fundamentally, it's using Gemini to come back and provide you stuff. I mean, I use it daily, or and I think it's increasingly appearing in the search results. I think if you do some still quite specific stuff, it won't give you anything. But I'm seeing for probably 80% of the things I search for, it's coming up. And I will use it as a way. I treat it more like a curation thing in the same way, I guess,
that's it.
The old Google search would. The difference now is it curates it, but also then puts some narrative around it in terms of it's trying to pull bits together. It obviously applies references to where it's pulling that content from, which is good. And that's what I find is really useful. But it's a good way to very quickly get to things. Obviously, as I'm sure we'll hear from Aris, there's obviously a whole... it's a whole different ball game in terms of actually how you get your content into there. But I think as an implementation, it's probably because it's there in the search.
It's well integrated.
It's well integrated and it fits in. And actually the way it presents it, I think, is very well. I think another example would be if you use Perplexity, which I use quite often doing research, which obviously will then, use quite a lot of the models. And that's very similar where it'll pull stuff together, but it will annotate and provide the references so you can go out and actually see where it's going. It's as good as a research tool.
For me, having worked in an agency side for so many years now, I mean, SEO, which preceded this challenge, has always been like an interesting part of the process, because a lot of people have been trying to manipulate search results, and they have been creating, designing web pages and experiences that for search engines rather than the humans are supposed to talk to. And it has always been a bit of a bugbear, It's kind of like it's always something that you need to do. So it will be interesting to kind of hear how the playing field is shifting when searching happens via AI. So shall we get Aris in and kind of see what he thinks?
Let's get him in. Let's hear his I'm interested to hear his take.
Hi everyone, we have got Aris from Rankbee with us today. Hey Aris, good afternoon. Where are we finding you today?
Hey Theo, hi Giles. Giles, I'm in London at the moment. Hi, how about you guys?
I'm in Cologne in Germany. Giles?
I'm still in Cambridge. So we've got
Cambridge,
still in Cambridage. So nice. two UKs, one.
Absolutely. So let's get started and go into this big subject of finding things on the internet and how it has been impacted, obviously by AI. So these days we kind of mostly, a lot of people find stuff sort of using straight Google. They will kind of use one of the chat applications, an LLM, to find stuff on the internet. Aris, from your experience and from Rankbee's positioning, what is the state of play at the moment, and what are the challenges that this poses for marketeers?
Yeah, thanks. I think the state is twofold. First, from the consumer perspective, obviously there's been a lot of initial interest to get into tools, and more people are becoming comfortable researching anything from a toothbrush to what university their kids should go to what to vote. We do a bit of election work as well, and we've seen that people trust AI even in that field. On the other hand side, although that's plateauing, the data shows us that the initial rush of people to get on board is not continuing in the same pace. right? So a lot of people have jumped on board, and maybe their use is increasing. But you know, ChatGPT and Claude is not going to surpass Google, let's say, in the next 12 months in terms of volume. That rush has sort of slowed down a little bit. But the use and how people use it and how they make decisions hasn't slowed down. So the invisible data there being, you may find that the zero-click attribution stuff ends up working in the favor of the consumer, but you can't track what they're doing. You can't track that this person decided to sign up in my university in ChatGPT, and then they clicked on my paid ad, and then I'm attributing all my revenue to paid search, but actually all the decision making is happening upstream. And I think that really is the two-sided coin. Is from one side the consumer is getting more savvy, the businesses are not as fast. They're relying a lot on agencies to guide them, and so the in-house expertise just hasn't spent enough cycles to build the tools and the internal processes to catch up.
I just jump in. I think it's probably useful, Aris. Maybe just for the benefit of those watching and listening, just give us a quick rundown of what Rankbee is and how it can actually fits into that sort of marketing pipeline.
Of course, Rankbee is effectively an SEO for AI tool, and we provide also some consulting and auditing services as well. But effectively, the tool is positioned as primarily into the content optimization space. So we have some proprietary and unique ways of understanding what LLMs want and need to hear to rank your brand higher. And so we help small, medium, and larger campaigns effectively get their content right for the LLM era.
Okay. No, that's cool. Yeah, I just thought that might be beneficial. And just to follow up to what you were saying, sorry, Theo, just the original question I was going to ask you. Obviously, we talked about people using ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, or whatever your platform is to do research, which is obviously quite key. But also even Google themselves now, they obviously embed their AI response at the top of the page. So even a traditional Google search is now largely driven by AI. Are you approaching that in the same way that you would any other LLM? I guess it's just Gemini that's driving a lot of that sort of stuff largely, isn't it?
Yeah, I think obviously they're catching different segments of the consumer.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody who's searching still on Google and are learning about AI from Google is a different kind of consumer to somebody who's paying for and using Claude or Copilot, and somebody who's just using ChatGPT for free. I think the majority of, let's say, unawares consumers are still accessing AI through Google AI.
Yeah, and is most of the challenges that you say that this is a fairly new, fast-moving field for many marketeers, so that agencies are helping. But are most of the issues that you're seeing technical, kind of like optimize, the way that your digital is structured for AI, or are they more content-related, the way that you write, the way that you communicate? What are the biggest challenges in there?
It's a bit of both. I started running audits lately, and we basically built an audit tool because we realized out of something like 80% of companies who sign up with us have major either content or major technical issues that prohibit them or slow them down in terms of AI. And these are companies who might be doing well in SEO. It's just that there's now new problems to solve. So yeah, there's both. There's I think from a content perspective, there's a lot of new things that people need to worry about. And currently the tools are not making it easy for you. They're telling you need to chunk content. They're telling you need to change the way you write. But there's very few tools out there who can actually know if this worked or not, right? Which is what we're sort of focused on. From an audit perspective, there's just a variety of things we found, about a dozen things that people tend to get wrong. We can get into later if you want, but yeah, there's definitely new problems that people are not aware of.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it'd be great to hear some of those. I guess, looking forward, do you see, I mean, ultimately, everybody, all marketers are aware of SEO. It's been around for decades now. at what point do we forget SEO and just chuck it in the bin and just go, it's all about AEO now? We have to just drive everything for, the LLMs, and actually the SEO stuff will just become totally irrelevant.
The two are very compatible. It's not like if you start doing GEO or GAIO, whatever you want to call it, that you have to stop doing SEO. This is more of an extension of your toolkit rather than a replacement of the toolkit. That's the first thing. So yeah, you need to write content differently. And for instance, when it comes to JavaScript rendering, you need to reevaluate your SEO assumptions. Things that worked until now might stop working. When it comes to how you structure your site, you might want to reevaluate what content you surface and how much of it, right?
So we talk about the challenges and how the strategy would be, but are there also opportunities for marketeers there, Aris? I mean, we keep hearing a lot about agentic commerce, about, things that maybe consumers, buyers will be able to do autonomously. How does that play into the entire marketing mix?
I think it's great especially for small, medium enterprises. It's great. What I've seen is that in every market segment, especially local, like state, state SEO, city SEO, and AIO, there's a lot of opportunities, and smaller companies can beat bigger competitors. Like AI tends to, for instance, if you're looking for a state lawyer in Nevada, you are far more likely to find somebody local who did not win the SEO game 5 years ago, because all the big, partnership firms outranked them on everything. All the big terms now are being recommended for car accidents, for all sorts of cases, just because they're very local, and AI identifies them as somebody who's probably more appropriate for you than a big agency, right? So these are great things. We've seen this with consulting firms too. Actually, GrowCreate was one of them. Where you guys are killing it on ranking for AI. In your area of interest, beating much bigger companies in the space. And I think that's the biggest opportunity, is that companies now, there's a bit of a David and Goliath situation happening in some of the market segments.
And you're seeing the same kind of play now. So you mentioned earlier winning on the SEO game. Is there also going to be a JIO game that is being played now, who's going to generate more content and influence the algorithm?
Yeah, but I also don't know that the pyramid will shift, because the thing with SEO is that, you didn't trust Google to understand what you're looking for. So you always used to start with, I'm going to stick with a lawyer paradigm. You used to stick with lawyer Nevada, or car, accident
Keywords,
lawyer
right.
Nevada. Right?
Yeah.
Because you just didn't think that you're going to get much better than that from Google. And so the funnel always started with the 10 biggest companies in the space. Then you clicked on them, and before you checked anybody else, you're already giving your clicks and your marketing signals to the big agencies so they could approach you and get you as a customer. What you're doing now is you're going to either Google AI mode or to your ChatGPT, and you're saying, oh, like 3 days ago, I slipped inside of the store, and then I sort of hurt my ankle. Do you think I have a case? And if so, you tell your whole story to AI. And then it's like, well, for your case, you probably need a small office lawyer to take your case, and here's 3, right? And so you've skipped the whole upper funnel, and you went straight for a lawyer in your neighborhood who never had a chance on SEO.
Yeah, I guess there's the whole. I guess there's the whole. Old search was it was logical. It was a computer driven. It was A plus B equals C sort of thing. So you could game the system. You could, as you say, embed your keywords, make it sound like you're coming from a particular area, even though you're not. Whereas with the new AI models, because there's an element of, I guess, unpredictability built into them, and to a certain extent, intelligence, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to be as easy to gamify that. As you say, it's going to know that, Theo is based in Cologne, and it doesn't matter how much I talk about Cologne on my website, they're going to still be able to look at other things that are going on around there and go, actually, Theo is obviously far more local than Giles is, and actually they're going to skew that. So it's going to, as you say, it's going to be very difficult for the big companies to sort of overwhelm them in the way they did before with the kind of keyword sort of nesting and stuff and buying up keywords and all that kind of stuff and advertising.
I mean, I still think they have a chance. It's just a slightly different game, and not everybody's playing it yet. I think there's a lot more layers and a little bit of expertise, new expertise that people need to gain in terms of what you should target and how AI thinks. And I think most marketeers have an attention problem when it comes to AI, which is that, still in terms of traffic and attributable revenue, we're still not seeing, except from small SaaS businesses where AI brings a lot of the traffic to them. But for e-commerce and maybe even for services and for other areas, it's still hovering around 3, 4, 5% attributable new customers. And then the problem is you're not justified to spend half of your content budget specifically on AI because nobody's asking you to do that yet if it's only 5 or 3%. So everybody's still asking the question, is now the time? Should we go in now, or should we wait? But the invisible thread is customers are already deciding, you just can't see it. So it could be that 30% of your customers have decided to go with somebody else or you, and you don't even know about that. For that reason, we don't get a lot of experts yet in-house. So a lot of in-house SEO experts that I talk to, they just haven't had the time or the appetite to go and dig in. Okay, how exactly does it work? What's new? What's the nuanced difference between my strategy for content for this versus that? And I think this is where we come in, because that's all we do. But I still think there's 2 or 3 years before in-house teams will actually understand fully what needs to be done.
I like the point about attribution. I mean, the old advertising saying that like 50% of your advertising budget is wasted. You just can't tell which 50%.
Yeah.
It is a little bit like that with this. You have got all this traffic coming in that you cannot attribute. At the end of it, you kind of have to optimize for everything. I guess my next question would be, if we were to give marketeers or marketing teams one top line advice, we're not going to ask you to divulge all your company secrets or all your optimization secrets, but is there a top tip that you give marketeers to say, start here? This is going to get you started, or this is going to have maximum effect for minimum effort. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think targeting. So the thing is, this is a long answer. As AI for LLMs and AI for SEO started at the same time. So most companies started mass scaling and automating their content at the same time AI came about. Meaning that most companies hadn't figured out how to do that before with LLM and other more, pre-AI solutions. And so what we're seeing is a lot of teams in the, starting 2023 started trusting AI to create content for them. And I think my advice is, as you're building a strategy and either you're building your in-house agentic content creation, or you're doing content spinning, or you're doing, blog writing through AI, and you're just, with final touches from humans, whatever it is your strategy is, there's 2 main themes, right? One is cost reduction in terms of content writing, and the other one is breadth. Whatever it is you're doing for your SEO campaign, take a little bit of time to understand how content needs to be written differently and targeted differently. And I can give a couple of clues. I don't know if we want to go deeper into exactly how.
No, that'd be useful. Go. Yeah, go for it.
The targeting aspect is that to make it simple, when AI is thinking about, let's say, again, I'll stick with a lawyer example. If you ask it, who's a good lawyer for, to cover my slip case, and to tell me if I have if I should go ahead with a legal claim. I will categorize this question in a few different ways, right? Usually something like half a dozen to a dozen attributes, we call them, right? First, it will say, Okay, so you're looking for a lawyer. Is it important for them to be local? Maybe yes. Is the pricing important? It is important to, for instance, have accreditation. Is it important that they have been, let's say, they've met the bar or they haven't met the bar? So it creates specific categories that you can predict, right? So instead of, whereas with SEO, you were writing about content, keywords, right? So you were trying to hit the keywords that the customer is looking for. What you now need to start targeting is, what are those things, these attributes that LLMs think about when you're asking for a lawyer? And these are the things you need to write about. You need to convince the AI effectively that I'm a lawyer who is accredited, who is local to this, who has a lot of experience in this particular type of case, because we have, and we are very well reviewed. And what are the other 2 or 3, maybe we are the right size because we have the right price, et cetera, et cetera. And then AI will say, okay, you're probably the best. It's not like with Google where, after they find you and they classify you and they say, okay, this is good enough, and they have some links, then they do a keyword match. With AI, it will try to figure out how do you score across this 6 to 12 criteria, and then give you a ranking based on the logic of, are you a good fit for this job?
So it is not just the keywords, just one keyword or the ones that the customer has provided, but it is an entire context that is being created. So the word context, of course, being very important in AI. And I understand what you mean. That these categories, these attributes, they create that much richer kind of a context, and then the algorithm can match you, which is very interesting.
So just to follow, I was just curious now. I'm just thinking, obviously previously under SEO, you're always told to kind of almost really focus in on a niche, weren't you? It's like, the more specific you could be, and identify that, like you said, like the example, Nebraska car accidents, for, who've only got $500 to spend or whatever. And actually they would say, well, you've got to really niche in and focus in on those keywords to have the most success. But it almost sounds, based upon what you're saying there, Aris, you need to almost, the content you're writing needs to be broader than that, because you need to be able to answer any number of questions from what you're saying. Whereas previously it'd be very focused on a specific thing and hoping you capture those people through that. Is now actually, I need to talk more broadly around my capabilities, because actually I don't really kind of know what the matching will be against that.
Actually, this is a very good question, because it's tricky. There's a concept called chunking that I think most sort of content marketeers are starting to latch onto. And chunking tells you the opposite thing, tells you that you need to have paragraphs that talk about exactly one thing, so that the AI database can file it in the right dimension and then know that you're doing well, right? And then the strategy that they all recommended to do is write really long content, because you cover a lot of different chunks and then your content becomes great. So you see a lot of advice out there to build 2,000-3,000 word articles.
We've seen them scroll past them.
Yeah.
Right, which is not great for the customer. So we've gone the other way with our experiments, and what we've seen is that we have a simulation scoring algorithm that after we write a content, we can pass it through a simulation and see, did it work? Does AI prefer this to that? And our focus have been, how can we get articles to rank with 300 words, 500 words, just as well as the 2,000 word article, right? The initial optimizations we did, okay, now we can get a really high ranking and score with 2,000, but then nobody wants that. Nobody wants to read that.
Nobody's going to read it. Yeah, you're basically writing for the machine, not for the human. Then at that point,
exactly. So our focus has been, how can we shrink it to the point where a human would be happy to read 300 words and it covers your entire, sort of vector. This is our focus, and you can't. It's hard to get to it. Like you have to build a machine or a simulation that's pretty good at this. But my overall advice is, first of all, it's not a one-page problem. So AI will probably hit 2 or 3 of your pages when somebody asks a question. They'll hit your pricing page, they'll hit your about us page, they'll hit the home page if you're a small legal firm. And you can see that from your log files. So you know that you have a few opportunities to cover those topics. My advice would be, one click from your homepage. The page is one click from your homepage. This would be the top tip if you're a small, medium business, should cover the 6 to 12 things that AI thinks are important for your segment, right? If you're a lawyer, it shouldn't have to go 3 clicks in to find out you're bar certified or that you cover these types of case. And obviously the content has to be thorough. It can't just be a mention or a keyword. You have to convince the AI that you're great at those things, very close to your homepage.
That's a very good top tip. Really good, really practical as well. Thank you so much, Aris. I think we're kind of running out of time though, so we will probably save the remaining time to ask you the one question that we ask ourselves and everything. Giles, what do we always ask?
Well,
our favorite question.
Well, yeah. It's been great to hear about your input in your platform, but this one's going more personal about you and your use of technology. So, if I was to force you to pick one, what's your one go-to AI tool or platform that you find yourself using day in, day out that you'd like to mention here?
So, my favorite one right now is Google Design. Cloud Design.
Okay, yeah.
It's obviously this changes a lot, but in the past 2 weeks, I found myself, using Cloud Design for everything, like reevaluating the onboarding process, everything we're doing, the emails, the templates, because I find that it is extraordinarily good. Like it's just absolutely the surprise of the month for me in terms of AI utility.
It runs out of tokens very quickly because it has got its own pricing that is not linked to everything, which annoys me. But I agree with you. I was also pleasantly surprised, and I went in there with a full view to kind of hating it. I just couldn't.
I've tried a few and I hated them too, right? I've tried a few design tools and I was like not doing it. The Google had one and that didn't work out as well. They were very unlucky to launch at the same time. The Google one is awful. Claude one is absolutely great.
Brilliant. Well,
excellent.
Before we say goodbye, and thank you so much, tell the listeners where can they find you? Where can they find out more about Rankbee?
Yeah, just come to rankbee.ai and either get in touch if you want some in-depth work, audits, etc., or sign up and get your content campaigns going through the tool.
Fantastic.
Thank
you so much for your time, Aris. That was great to have you on the podcast. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
As our first interview as well. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Aris.
So that was the interview with Aris from Rankbee. Yes. That was incredibly interesting, right, Giles?
It was, definitely. Yeah, I think it's... obviously you're much closer, sort of more involvement, probably day to day in sort of marketing, particularly that sort of stuff than I am. But yeah, really interesting to hear somebody's takes and actually how they're playing AI in that field as well. Yeah, really interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, for me, I was saying earlier about the the whole SEO and the transitioning over to the new playing field and how it has been impacting the world of creating digital experiences. And I find the idea that there is a new leveling of the playing field that is fascinating. The fact that you had that AI game, so that SEO game that maybe was won by the big brands a few years ago, but now there is an opportunity for more niche players, SMEs, B2B players to kind of go and make a different mark, so long as they understand that there is different ways to structure and create content with AI. And that I found that was fascinating. It was good to see startups and kind of experienced people like Aris, because kind of trying to solve that game. It's early days, as Aris said.
Yeah.
The demand is just growing now. The what you call attribution, so more and more traffic comes in from AI, and of course, marketing professionals don't quite see it just yet, but it's only gonna get more. It's a one-way road, and your brand exposure from AI is only going to increase. That's fascinating stuff. What about you? What was your key takeaway from what we heard from Aris?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, all the points you raised. I think the other one that was really interesting to me was around the whole content creation, because exactly as he was said, you hear a lot of people talking about chunking, a lot of people saying, "Oh, you just write a massive article that covers it," which, as you say, you're as I think I might have said in the interview, if I remember rightly, I said you're writing for the machine at that point, because no human's going to sit and read 1,500 words around a subject. You want something that's there and hits the right mark. And it was also interesting as well that kind of slightly different perspective around, that actually you need to bear in mind that unlike previously, you basically had one piece of real estate in the SEO terms, your website, you had a single page, and that was basically your net you were going to catch people with. Whereas now he's saying, actually, well, you've got multiple chances on your website. It's about making sure that, you know, you're not using that single one page to cover everything you need to say, but you're effectively getting your messages across about, you know, your About Us is effectively telling you, describing who you are and what you do. Your services page is very clear and very articulate about the actual service, and your pricing page. And actually your AI is going to use all of that in combination before it then makes a recommendation. So it's a different mindset, and I guess a slightly different perspective that I've heard, or I'm sure we've all heard, where people just write massive, you know, War and Peace articles, which just, you know, we all know in reality you're getting AI to write stuff for AI, and it's just it's going to clog up the internet. Yeah,
that is kind of like a snail eating its own tail, right? It's
yeah,
AI
exactly.
to write content for AI. Yeah, I don't quite see the point of that, and it's good to see that there is an alternative, because I have been worried about the fact that a lot of, you know, web design now, a lot of these web experiences are being redesigned not for human use, but for essentially for machine use. And there has to be a better way. I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff with schemas and stuff like that, which seems to be the official way to tell a machine what this content is all about. If we have the official way, then surely we should use that and optimize for that, to let the human experience shine through and to kind of be as good as possible.
Yeah, because you can because you can kind of assume, oh, well, you know, I'll be in ChatGPT and I'll ask a question and then ChatGPT will give me the response. So there is that argument that says, well, they never leave ChatGPT and come to your website, so therefore you just need to make sure. But, you know, people are still, we've still got that inbuilt, it's muscle memory that you want to click through and you want to look at the website. You still want to go and look at it. You know, you still want to understand
the brand experience.
You want to see with the brand experience, understand what's going on. So you can't just kind of say my website is just basically a knowledge base of anything that we think an AI would know. And as you say, it's a really interesting area that's going to rapidly evolve over the next few years, I think. So, and it's great to see people, Aris, you know, doing some good stuff in there. So.
And we will be talking much more on that. But for now, this is all that we had time for. We're going to say goodbye now, and thank you so much for listening. As always, we are beside ourselves to have you with us, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Theo. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Beside Ourselves. Don't forget to send us your questions via the comments or the email address in the description.